I played 50 days of My Time at Sandrock, and here's what happened. This is a game I've been meaning to show on my channel for quite a while now, as I'm a huge fan of both Sandrock and the predecessor, My Time at Portia. While there is also farming in these games, they are more focused on the story. That's also why the video is so insanely long. Don't have much more to say about the intro, now sit back, maybe grab a snack, and enjoy the video. First things first, we of course have to make our own character. I tried out a few hairstyles and hair colors, but I mostly kept everything as it was by default. Also, I was so excited to play as this footage was recorded from day 1 of the release, so I couldn't be bothered to spend too much time in the character creator. We have officially arrived at the Sandrock train station, where Mian introduced herself. She's a builder like us, and if you're not familiar with Sandrock nor Portia, then let me give you a quick rundown. My Time at Sandrock is an adventure RPG. As I said before, there's farming, crafting, animal husbandry, cave diving, and even boss battles. But the most important one is the crafting. We are a builder, so we build things. Also, this game has a very extensive storyline and a whole bunch of different characters. Some are more important than others, but I will talk more about those later. Anyways, we also meet Jan and Mason. Jan is the owner of the Commerce Guild building and kinda like our boss. Mason is a retiring builder and we are allowed to move into his old workshop. I'm not gonna mention him too often anymore since, well, he's leaving town and he's also kinda awkward. I had a quick look at my new property and also got some cute furniture pieces in the mailbox. After collecting some stone and wood, I was able to make a pick hammer. I rushed back into town to talk to Jan and he wanted me to work on a recycler right away, but before that I wanted to take a peek at the town and meet more people. We have Owen, who is the owner of the Blue Moon Saloon, Sandy, the town mascot, Elsie and her mom, who own a yak mill farm, and Jensen, the train conductor. After a lot of socializing, I went back to my workshop and had a look at the recycler diagram. As I was gathering materials for said recipe, I was interrupted by Burgess, who told me it was illegal to cut down trees around town. I apologized to him and said that I didn't know anything about that, which was a lie because Jan warned me about that earlier. Whoopsie daisy. I went over all of the different crafting recipes that were available to me at the work table and then made my very first recycler. Back in town, I met Pastor Miguel and Jasmine, who is the daughter of the mayor. Mayor Trudy is currently on a mission in the desert, so I guess we will meet her at a later point in the game. I met Vivi, who owns the tailor-made shop and is the town grandma, RVO owner of the general store, and then got a cutscene with Penn, aka Superman, who calls himself the protector of the town. Yeah, we'll see about that, buddy. He told me that I needed some training in fighting, so we went to his boxing arena and I even got to choose a weapon. Usually my first choice would be the heaviest and strongest option, in that case the greatsword, but I really wanted to try out the dual daggers, and then this happened. I guess you're supposed to lose here? Also, he gave me the nickname Skinny Arms, which I don't approve of at all. After that, I finally made it to the town hall where I met Matilda, who is currently filling in for Mayor Trudy. I registered my workshop and ended up with the name Skyforge, which I definitely came up all by myself and didn't look up online. Mian and I headed to the Commerce Guild again, where we got a cutscene with Jan and Rocky. Rocky is the chef of the Eufaula Salvage Company and he commissioned a crane lift from Jan a while ago, but he never finished that. Now it's of course our job to get it done. For the rest of the day I ran around and collected as many materials as I could and then headed to bed. Day number 2, Jasmine visited me in the morning and asked if I wanted to have a little tour around town. Of course I said yes, since I haven't even seen half of the buildings in Sandrock. First stop was the yak mill farm and she said in the future I can buy my own animals from there. Second stop was the big water tower, which was located in the middle of town. I can also buy water from Burgess, should I need any. Third location was City Hall, and last stop was the Church of the Light, where most town folks gather every Sunday. I thanked Jasmine for the tour and then explored the rest of my own. I met Mort, the Graveyard Keeper, and probably one of my favorite characters in the entire game. Then Katori, who owns the Golden Goose. It's an arcade as far as I know, and she also takes care of the museum. After exploring for a little while, I headed back to collect more materials for the crane lift project, and then I saw Elsie, who was struggling to pull in some sort of a machine. This is the introductions to this game's fishing, or sand fishing as it's called. While I was collecting scrap, I found my very first data disk, and with that I had another mission unlocked. I rushed back into town and visited the research center for the first time, where I got acquainted with Director Chi. He told me to collect more data disks in order to unlock more machines for my workshop. This system is basically the same as it was in Portia, and I'm glad they kept this in. As I was returning to my house, I saw that I had mail, and to some letters you can even reply. Small details like that is something that I really appreciate. After that I crafted my first furnace and placed it next to the recycler. I went to the Commerce Guild where I accepted my first building commission. This is going to be my main source of income for a very long time. Every day I can accept commissions from various people in the town, and upon completing these, not only do I get money, but also friendship points for whoever said commission was. For now I can only accept one per day, but that'll change as soon as I gain more workshop reputation. I crafted the required items for Elsie, and with that order completed, got over 250 gold. Not too bad. I met more of the people while I was in town, like Justice, head of the Civil Corps, Heidi, who works at the construction junction where I can upgrade my house in the future, which I am very excited for, and lastly Cooper, who is Elsie's father and so far my least favorite character. I waited until it was 6 PM since there was a fireside meeting in town. These gatherings are every Sunday or whenever there's a bigger event happening. There wasn't really too much going on at the meeting, just an official welcome for Mian and me to Sandrock, and while I am busy at the meeting, I just want to mention quickly, I recorded all of this footage way back in November in 2023 when the game released. But I never ended up publishing this video as I was very unhappy with the voiceover and the overall quality of it. Why am I telling you all of this? Well, for one, the game has been updated quite a few times since I played last time. In fact, the developers are already working on a new game, I'm pretty sure. They added a bunch of new stuff and smaller DLCs that are not present in this version, obviously. Because I had to redo the audio, that also meant that I had to compress the video again for like the third time. So the quality isn't great. It's not your internet, it's not YouTube, that's how I had to upload it, unfortunately. Nevertheless, I still wanted to publish this after all, since I spent so many hours working on this, and actually I had one single person ask for a video on MyTimeatSandrock. Now that that's out of the way, let's continue with the video. The next day, Portia stopped by in the morning, who gave me some water as a welcome gift, and told me that a lot of the water in Sandrock gets imported from other cities. That's why it's very expensive to buy. But I can also collect dew from various plants and craft my own water with that. Sounds kinda weird, I know, but that's how it works. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I have a water tank next to my house, which I need to check from time to time since my machines won't run if it's empty. I thought that the system was a bit irritating at first, since again, water isn't cheap to buy, but money isn't really much of an issue in this game, so I didn't struggle with that as much as I thought I would. I started to work on the crane lift that day and was only missing a few more items. So I headed out and started collecting. By doing so, I reached level 5 and got access to my first 2 knowledge points. There are 4 different knowledge categories: gathering, combat, workshop, and social. I had a quick look at the skill tree and put my points into more stamina and getting extra experience from mining, even though I haven't even been to a mine yet. Then I made a weapon at the work table, which was a spear for some reason. Not really sure what I was thinking. I'm not a spear enjoyer. Well, in any case, I can defend myself now. Back at the Commerce Guild, I accepted another commission and then headed to the saloon where I had a very nice chat with Owen. He told me about the church, Civil Corps, Sandstorm, but what interested me the most was this Logan. He is the guy on the wanted posters all around town, and apparently he used to live in Sandrock some time ago. After a very long talk with Owen, I got to meet Amira. She is Arvio's sister and owns the ceramic gate. I dropped off the commissioned items and she gave me a ceramic bottle as a welcome gift. I also got my first knowledge point in the social category. I'm not gonna mention these too often anymore, since in the early game you get them pretty frequently and I don't want to sound too repetitive. While I was gathering materials, I decided to test out my new weapon and surprise, it sucks! Yeah, I'm gonna change out the spear with a different weapon as soon as I can. I decided to stop by the research center since I wanted to get some diagrams for new machines. I had 4 disks available at the moment, so my only options were either a grinder or a processor. So I started on the processor. While I was heading back to my workshop, I met the cutest owl, Coco. Look at her, she's adorable. I also noticed that you can recover energy by sitting on any bench. Very slowly, but better than nothing. My last stop for the day was the Yakmel farm, where I had a look at all of the animals that were available to me. Excuse me, what is that demon? Anyways, I said goodnight to Coco and then went to bed. Morning of day number 4, I checked my mail and already got the diagram for the processor. After collecting more scrap, I got to meet Pebbles, who is Rocky's son, Fang, the local doctor, and his adorable sidekick, Mr. X. Yes, I know it's just X, but Mr. X sounds better. Ryan, who's the local carpenter, Macchiato and Captain, 2 very cursed looking cats. After meeting a few more townies, I stopped by Heidi's construction junction and I was very overwhelmed with the menu. Yeah, I'll come back to that another time. I headed to the Commerce Guild to collect my daily commission and had a look at the workshop rankings. 69 reputation points, nice. So you gain workshop reputation by doing commissions. The higher your reputation, the more commissions you can do. I'm not exactly sure how Yan is on the number 1 spot already. I've never seen this guy do anything ever since I came here, but okay. In the early game the commissions are very easy, but they'll wrap up in difficulty real fast. Back at the workshop I made the processor and then finished the commission for Elsie. After dropping off the materials, I met Grace, who works at the Blue Moon Saloon, then explored around town a bit more. On day 5 I got another diagram from G in the mail. I collected all of the finished items from the machines and now I had almost everything ready for the crane lift. I did my morning routine of gathering materials and then went to the Commerce Guild where I bought the wooden storage recipe. We're gonna need a lot of storage boxes in the future, trust me. As per usual, I collected my daily commission and I'm not gonna show these too often anymore. Same with the knowledge points, I don't want to sound too repetitive. So just assume that I do these every single day, because I do. Back at the workshop I finished the crane lift and then went right away to the scrapyard to install it. With the lift finally working, we get access to the abandoned ruins. The mine system is almost identical to the one in Portia, but if you're not familiar, then let me explain. There's different types of ruins throughout the map. Each provides different materials, relics, and ores to collect, and you have to pay a weekly fee in order to access them. Also, you have a jetpack, which is hilarious. I mined as much as possible until I ran out of stamina. Then I walked around town and talked with pretty much anyone that I saw.
You know, I was just thinking how it's so hard being so strong and handsome.
Genuinely don't understand how people simp over this guy. At this point I had a good chunk of money saved up, so I decided to expand my yard for the first time. I sat down by the bench in front of the scrapyard and admired the beautiful view over Sandrock. The next day I got a letter from my best friend Nia. I replied that I also miss her a lot and how she's doing back in Highwind. Owen also sent a letter with a diagram for a sandfish trap attached to it, so I crafted one and tested it out. I was able to catch at least 2 fish for the quest and already had another 2 from Elsie, so that's good enough for now. I gave 3 of the fish to Owen and then headed into the ruins again, where I'll be spending most of my time in the next few days. As I was mining, I found my first relic piece. I showed it to Katori, who gave me the other piece so I can put them back together at the restoration machine. Once I have a full piece, I can display it in the museum, which in return will get me workshop reputation and friendship points with Katori. Also, can we talk about how great the music is in this game? While heading back, I found another treasure chest with stone daggers inside. Now this is more my style. I'm glad I found these now, so I don't have to waste any materials by crafting my own. I bought some wood from Berta's shop and then made another storage chest for my yard. And 5 minutes later I had to run back to his shop because I was out of water for my water tank. I chased around some tumbleweed and finally headed to bed.
We do recommend staying indoors until the sandstorm subsides, but in case you must go outside, the church has this free set of sand gear for you. Isn't it nice? These will help you move around in the sandstorm, but they sure as light won't help you much against the ravenous beasts.
Well, we officially have our first sandstorm. As Ben mentioned, during a sandstorm, certain elite animals will appear on the map that are a lot higher level than regular mobs. They're difficult to fight, but they also drop really good loot. As I was collecting scrap, I noticed Penn fighting a wild yak mill with his bare hands. I wanted to help him out, but he basically one-shotted that poor fella. I went into town to get my daily commission, and another nice detail about this game, during a sandstorm all of the villagers have either masks or custom sand hats on. Well, everyone except for Penn. Since it was a Sunday, I decided to visit the church. Definitely a good time to talk with everyone and get some easy friendship points. Not that I did that, because I had my fair share of socializing in the past couple of days. I was feeling confident enough to take on a few yak mills and even managed to defeat an alpha one. I'm also really starting to enjoy the dual daggers. Not a whole lot of damage, but definitely more accurate than the spear. Back at my workshop, I noticed that some of the machines had a lot of sand on them, so I headed to the Commerce Guild and bought the recipe for a feather duster. However, I needed, well, feathers to craft one, which drops from those goofy looking chickens. But I didn't have any energy left, so unfortunately it'll have to wait. I thought maybe ordering some food at the saloon would restore my stamina, and it did, but very little. I had a quick look at the rooms that were located upstairs in the saloon, and oh my god, I adore these paintings. The smiling Mona Lisa, Van Gogh sunflower, and a cat in a fish costume. I'm more of a bird person, but this is adorable. Morning of day 8, Mian was outside my house and informed me about the damage that the sandstorm inflicted. The stage next to the Blue Moon collapsed, so we headed right over there and got commissioned by Matilda to rebuild it. I even got to choose which part I wanted to take care of. I decided for the stage backdrop, but ultimately I don't think it matters which one you pick. I had to salvage the old stage in order to progress the mission, but my pickhammer wasn't strong enough. Owen told me that the sign above the saloon got swept away as well, and of course I told him I'd go and find it for him. I had to fight some rocket roosters in order to pick up the sign, which I didn't mind at all since I needed their feathers. While fighting the roosters, I got a knowledge point in the combat category, and now I can do a 4-hit combo with the daggers. Pretty sweet. Finally, I was able to make a feather duster for my machines, and then headed back to the saloon to install the missing sign. As I was running around town, I met Mr. X, who told me to stop by Fang's clinic for free goodies. I'll be checking that out later. For now, I went to get my daily commissions, where I ran into Mian and Elsie. Elsie told Mian that she's a workaholic and she should take the day off to go and do something else. I was asked if I wanted to join them as well, and I thought it was a nice idea until Elsie said this.
Well, huh? Games? But that's kid stuff. Cool, mature adult tap folk like us spend our leisure time running free on the wild frontier and...
Okay, dude. Before we headed to the game center, I still accepted a commission because I desperately needed more money. I played a round of whack-a-mole with Mian, and not gonna lie, this game slaps. Get it? I'll see myself out. After we finished, we checked on Elsie, who was inside playing on one of the machines.
Mian, how come you never told me how great games are? My heart's pounding, my mind is racing, I've never felt so alive.
Me playing Baldur's Gate for the first time? We decided to eat some food at the saloon, where Elsie suddenly decided to pull a prank on us. So, Mian and I are kids for liking games, but pranks are not childish? Okay, Elsie. I headed back to the scrapyard to collect my daily scrap, but my pass expired that day and I couldn't really spare the money at the moment, so I asked Venti if she could bring me in for free later. Venti works at the scrapyard, and yeah, that's pretty much all I know about her. Like I said, some characters are more important than others. No offense, Venti. While I was waiting for time to pass, I took a glimpse over at the crafting recipe for the bronze pickhammer. I had almost everything that I needed, but I was missing one item that I wasn't really too sure how to get. I'm pretty certain I googled this because I was just standing around for 5 minutes, doing nothing. And apparently, Hugo, the local blacksmith, has just what I needed. After selling a few items from my inventory, I was able to buy the sharpening stone. I'm always gonna try to progress main missions as fast as I can to keep it interesting, since a lot of the times during these, you have to wait a few days for either diagrams or certain events to appear. And since we're on the subject right now, throughout the entire video, you will almost always see the current mission that I'm doing on the right side of the screen. Main missions are yellow, side quests are blue, and any type of commission is green. I crafted the bronze pick hammer, then salvaged the old stage by the saloon and also started to work on the stage backdrop. I waited at my favorite spot until it was 1 hour before midnight and then met Venti at the scrapyard. After collecting everything there, I headed home and went to bed. Next day I talked with Vivi and she asked if I could make some salted fish for Mort. Still not a huge fan of sand fishing, but I'll try my best. At the assembly station I made my very first grinder. The grinder will allow me to craft new recipes, which I'm going to need for the stage. Before I headed into the mines, I did actually manage to catch up 2 fish for Vivi's request, so I put both of those onto the drying rack to make some salted fish. That sounds very disgusting by the way, but if Mort likes it, then I'm happy to help. Since I had a bit more money available again, I paid the weekly fee for the scrapyard, collected all of the junk that was there, and then did some mining down at the ruins. After gathering as much copper and tin ore as possible, I went back to the workshop and started to smelt everything. While I was waiting for my machines to finish, I ran into Elsie and she asked if I wanted to go riding with her, and of course I said yes. Cooper wasn't exactly thrilled to lend me a mount for free, but thankfully Elsie managed to convince him. And I had the option between a camel and a horse. The camel is a bit slower than the horse, but look at him, he has a little flower on his head. That's adorable. I thought I only had the mount for this little side quest with Elsie, but I was actually allowed to ride the camel for a whole week. After riding around the ranch with Elsie, she told me that in the future I can build my own stable and buy different types of mounts from her dad, which I am very much looking forward to. I made my way over to the graveyard to deliver the salted fish to Mort. He was very grateful for the food and then asked me if I wanted to have a cup of tea with him. Now I do love myself some good tea. After a nice chat with Mort, I went to the research center and commissioned a diagram for a dew collector. Then headed back to my workshop and I was pleased with the progress on the stage design. I was only missing a few pieces of glass and speakers. Not too bad. On day 10 I received 2 letters in my mailbox. One from Vivi thanking me for the fish I brought to Mort, and one from G who already finished the research on the dew collector. I'm excited to try out the dew collector since I wanted to know how efficient it actually is. Right now I only have like 4 machines at my workshop, so the water consumption isn't too bad. But I have a feeling that's gonna change really fast. I made my way into town to collect my daily commission and also accepted a request from Orvio, who wants me to install a sunshade near the oasis. Penn asked me to put up some wanted posters of Logan, since most of the posters got swept away during the latest sandstorm. This was easy enough, so I tended to that right away. As I was checking around for some potential poster spots, I remembered I had this mission to check out Dr. Fang's free samples. So I headed over to the clinic.
Free? I always believe there's no such thing as a free lunch.
What does this medicine actually do?
My aching back. I'm good, Doc. I'm good.
Yeah, it's healed.
Surely a bird would never mislead us.
Impossible. Animals are pure of heart.
I'll take 20.
I'll take 20.
I mean, seems legit. I tried one of the 3 samples, and now I'm a smurf. Just what I wanted. After putting up the rest of the posters, I had a quick chat with Mian, who asked if I wanted to fix up some of the broken things around town. I didn't have enough materials for that yet, so I'll come back to that later. For now I started on the diagram for Orvio's sunshade. I was missing some basic leather to finish the commission, and you need salt in order to craft said leather, so I headed to the saloon to buy the salt and... Excuse me, why is that so damn expensive? I finished the sunshade and also the stage backdrop, headed back into town and installed both of them. I informed Matilda about the finished stage, and she told me that Mason's farewell party will be held the following day. Wait, Mason is still here? Later that day I made a bronze axe and then stopped by the research center to commission a civil recycler diagram from Chi. Day number 11 started with the farewell party for Mason. After that I had a chat with Owen, who told me that Grace had a little accident in the kitchen last night, which is a nice way of saying that she blew up the oven. She insisted on paying the bill, but Owen wanted me to convince her otherwise, since apparently the bill is pretty hefty and he wants to pay it instead of her. You sweet innocent man. I headed over to the kitchen and we had a talk with Grace. I wasn't too happy about lying to her, but Owen assured me before that it was no problem for him to cover the bill for the new kitchen. If you don't know, Owen has a lot of money, for some reason. I don't know how he has so much money considering there's barely any tourists around town, but I'm not gonna question that any further. After talking for a little bit, Grace noticed that Owen put me up to all of this, but she was kinda sweet about it, and told Owen that she appreciates his concerns and is proud to call him his friend, but ultimately it was her mistake and she alone has to pay for it. After this incredibly wholesome cutscene, I checked my mailbox and got a letter from a secret guy who thinks I'm cool. I've been here for 11 days and I already have a stalker. Great. I replied by thanking him for the compliments and to leave his name next time he sends a letter, otherwise I'm gonna have to inform the police. I collected my daily materials from the scrapyard and then headed into the ruins to do some more mining. Then visited the museum and crafted my very first relic piece. Well, technically it's my second one, but with the first one Katori helped me out. I wanted to craft a dew collector, but I needed marble bricks for that, and I haven't figured out where to get marble. With the remaining energy I had left, I gathered more materials and also beat up a few Yakmel. Not gonna lie, I still don't have a consistent way of regaining stamina points. Most food items recover health, and the few items that do recover stamina are either not worth crafting because it's so little energy you get back, or they're way too expensive. So if you have any tips on that, then please let me know in the comments down below. The next morning, Mian was standing in front of my house and asked if I was ready to repair some structures around town. I had everything ready, so I told her I was good to go. First stop was the train station where we fixed up the damaged holes in the ground, and now it looks a lot safer in here. Second stop was the broken fence over at the Oasis, and lastly we installed 2 benches at the main plaza. After that, RVU asked me to deliver some jerky to Dr. Fang, and while I was doing that, I had another free medicine sample. I'm gonna be doing these every Wednesday and Friday from now on, since each sample that I try has a chance to unlock new medicine over at Fang's store in the clinic. As I was making my way down into the ruins, I ran into Director Chi, who appeared to be lost in the mines. And apparently now I am lost as well for some reason. I gathered some materials that were laying around to build a ladder. After emerging from the ruins, the director told me that he was looking for an equatorial mount, but didn't have any luck with finding the said relic pieces. I told him that I would be happy to help him with this mission, so I headed back into the mines and began my search. I did actually manage to find 2 of the 3 pieces that I needed, but as always, I didn't have any energy left, so I'll have to look for the last one another time. Back at my house, I made another storage box, and that wraps up day number 12. The following day, Amira asked me if I was willing to deliver some clay to her workshop twice a week. I agreed to the deal since I already had a whole lot of clay and it's also very easy to get. I checked my mailbox like I do every day and I had a letter from a so-called Killer E, who apparently stole my builder license. Pretty sure this letter is not meant for me, as I was just in my house like a minute ago and the license was still there. I headed over to the Yakmel Ranch where Cooper asked me if I could repair his broken fence gate. Then had a chat with Mian, who informed me that it was her builder license that got stolen and not mine. While Mian reported this incident to the Civil Corps, I headed around town and asked if people maybe saw something suspicious this morning. Cooper was kinda weird about it when I asked him, but I doubt that he was behind it. As much as I don't like him, he certainly doesn't seem like a petty thief. So I guess we have to wait for the Civil Corps to take action. After dropping off my daily commissions, I noticed there was a new wanted poster next to the one from Logan. I'm very curious to see when we're gonna meet these guys. I went into the ruins once again and found the last piece for the equatorial mount, headed to the museum to restore the relic and then gave it to the director. He thanked me for my efforts and also told me that he would be most interested in a telescope which might be located at the Gecko Station ruins. But I don't have access to these yet, so that's something for the future. Upon waking up on day 14, I had a cutscene that showed Logan and a guy named Haru robbing a train and then just casually jumping out of the window. I checked my morning mail where I got another letter from Nia and the civil recycler recipe from Chi. Then I saw Justice with a whole bunch of folks next to the train station. He asked them if anyone got robbed or injured while they were on the train, but nobody saw anything, which is very strange. Yan was also around and asked me to repair the broken window on the train. Feel free to also do some work, Yan. What a lazy guy. Well, I already had the materials on me, so might as well do it. Since the director already had finished the latest research, I commissioned another diagram from him. As I was heading back to my workshop, I met Elsie at my house, who told me that she was the one who stole Mian's builder license, and her dad gave the letter to me instead of Mian. You're making it really hard for me to like you, Elsie. She also mentioned that she lost the license while riding around the farm. Of course, she did. So I helped her recover it and then went straight to Mian to deliver it back to her. Elsie also came with me and apologized, and of course, Mian, being the nicest person in town, said that she wasn't mad. But next time just ask to hang out instead of stealing things. I spent the rest of my day down in the ruins and also collected any scrap, wood and plants around my house. On day 15 we got another cutscene in the morning. Some weird lizard people were attacking birches at the oasis. Very interesting. Yan wrote me a letter informing me that my workshop reached a 2-star rating, which means that from now on I can accept 2 commissions at once per day. This was really exciting. Like I mentioned earlier, the Commerce Guild commissions are basically my main source of income, but that also means that people are gonna ask for higher quality and more complex items from now on. I had a chat with Burgess, who told me that those lizard people from earlier are called the Gigglers. Not really sure how to feel about that name. I helped him clean up the oasis, then did my weekly delivery to Amira and stopped by the Yakmill Ranch. I saw Maple talk to this reporter called Ernest, who was actually on the train that got hijacked yesterday. He was very interested in Logan and asked if I was willing to answer some questions. I never saw Logan with my own eyes, but sure, why not? I couldn't really give Ernest too much insight, but after the interview he told me that he comes from a place called Atara, and thinks that his editor would be really interested if he would write about the bandits, so he's probably gonna stick around for a little while. As I was running behind my workshop to collect materials, I finally figured out where to get marble stones, and with that was able to craft the Dew Collector. I'm building more and more machines, and that of course in return consumes my water, so I'm hoping that the Dew Collector will save me a little bit of money in the long run. And while we're at it, I also put another knowledge point into the water conservation, which will increase the efficiency of the Dew Collector by a whopping 50%. Can people please stop coming onto my property every single morning? I have nothing against you, Matilda, but it's way too early to socialize. The minister told me to check out the moisture farm, which is located north of town. That's it? You couldn't have sent a letter for that? Well, okay then. Before doing that, I dropped off another batch of clay at Amira's place, and she let me know that I no longer need to collect clay for her since she felt kinda bad for it. I was making my way to the moisture farm, and upon arrival I saw that the building was under attack by the Gigglers. I took care of the lizard people and then got this cutscene. Not gonna lie, that was kinda badass. This is where we get to meet Zeke for the first time, who's the owner of the moisture farm. The attack left some damage around the building, and the worst part is that the hydrogel is broken. Without this machine, the crops won't survive, which is obviously a big problem for everyone, so I offered to fix it as soon as possible. I salvaged the broken hydrogel, then went to the research center and commissioned a diagram for a new one. The director informed me about a certain material that I need for that, and I can acquire it at a place called The Breach, wherever that is. I had to ask Justice about the place where I needed to go, and he was walking behind a mountain? Are you right there, buddy? He was reluctant to let me in first since The Breach isn't exactly a safe place, but I didn't really have any other options, so I was allowed to explore it. Before I did that, I went to Hugo's shop and bought myself a new pair of bronze daggers. With my new weapons, I headed into the breach for the first time. It's recommended to be around level 10 to 12, I'm level 17, so I think I'll be fine. Similar to Portia, Sandrock has these combat dungeons throughout the map where you have to fight different types of enemies, and at the end of every level, you get to fight a mini-boss. As mentioned earlier, there are certain types of materials and objects you can only get in those places, and you can also replay these areas as often as you like. I fought my way through the level, and then had another encounter with the Gigglers. I took care of the 3 clowns, checked around for some treasures, and then closed this hole off in the wall. That's probably where the lizard man came in. I reported this back to Justice, and he said,
"You don't have to make this action hero stuff up to try to make us think you're cool. I already think you're cool."
Thanks, Justice. Appreciate it. Day 17 I checked my daily mail and got a letter from Justice, who told me that after exploring the breach himself, he was surprised that I was telling the truth after all. He thanked me for fixing the hole in the wall and also mentioned that the breach will stay open from now on. I started to work on the hydrogel pieces and then noticed that sadly I don't have my camel companion anymore. Guess I'll have to walk again. I made my way to the Commerce Guild store since I needed some crafting recipes for the hydrogel, then took another free medicine sample from Fang. I'm sure I'm fine. Since I was waiting for my machines to finish, I decided to check out the ruins again. I'm not gonna show too much of these, since the areas all look very similar and, well, I don't think it's very interesting to watch. I headed back into town after 6 PM since there was a fireside meeting. It was about the broken hydrogel and the overall food situation. Owen came up with a great idea, but instead of me trying to explain everything, I'm just gonna show you the cutscene.
Right. So we'll use my stage for us to do a dance-off, where you need to donate some food to enter. And I have prizes.
What Owen meant was since there are some of us who are more fortunate than others when it comes to food security, it is our responsibility to make sure society as a whole perseveres through this difficult trial. Owen has volunteered his stage and time to organize a food drive in the form of a dance-off contest. Anyone can enter by donating some food. The church will help distribute the food to the people that need it.
After the meeting, I headed back home and went to bed. The next morning was for once actually very relaxing. I finished the hydrogel door, sorted my inventory and storage boxes, and then started to work on the last diagram, which was for the core. Then had a chat with Burgess, who told me when the dance contest will be held and where to donate food if I wanted to. I donated some eggs, mushrooms, dragon fruits, and a cactus? The more the merrier, I suppose. While collecting scrap around my house, I ran into Elsie.
Hey, you ain't doing nothing, are ya? Come on, help me track down it.
I'm a bit scared. Are we tracking down Pennywise? I gathered the worms and eggs for the quest, and she told me to meet her tomorrow so we can capture it. Okay, well, I'll be there. I took a trip into the hazardous ruins that day to level my combat skill. Then I wanted to upgrade my work table, but I was missing the diagram for that. Before going to sleep, I finished the hydrogel core. Now I only need to install it back at the moisture farm, but I couldn't be bothered to run all the way back there right now. The next day was a Friday, so as per usual, I stopped by the clinic to get the free medicine from Fang, then went to Zeke and repaired the hydrogel. I spent a good portion of my day in the mines to collect relics and ore, then donated a few new artifacts to the museum, and finally I met Elsie after sundown where this happens. That was the monster you were talking about? Pretty sure that's a meerkat.
Oh, gosh, no. I went and hurt the little bugger. All I ever wanted was to have a little fun.
I already had the medicine in my inventory, so we tracked him down again and we patched him up. Day number 20, I checked my mailbox in the morning and got a letter from Zeke, who gave me a diagram for a planting toolbox, which I'm gonna need for farming. A thank you letter from City Hall for my generous food donation. I don't know how you managed to put 10 liters of water into my mailbox, but thank you very much. And also the silver furnace diagram from the director. I crafted the planting toolbox, headed back to the farm where Zeke gave me a brief tutorial on how desert planting works. I'm very excited to get started on that. Back in town, I got acquainted with the mysterious man. He's a character that was also in Portia and sells rare goods and crafting recipes. He only visits on the 20th and 21st every season, though weirdly enough he even has a house in Sandrock, but you can never actually enter it. For now he doesn't have anything interesting for me, and also his items are incredibly expensive. Since I got the diagram for the civil furnace today, I checked into the research center to get started on one for my work table, where I got this cutscene.
You're here for the interview too? Run away while you still can! He's crazy! Crazy, I tell ya!
Assistant, come here and analyze this data. There appears to be a miscalculation on page 117. You've left a recursive digit. I would suggest you repeat these calculations. Assistant, hand me the data from last night. It appears that my assistant has somehow changed into the builder. Interesting.
I love this guy so much, hands down one of my favorite characters. Long story short, he needs an assistant, and I agreed to help him because why not? The next day I commissioned an upgrade for my work table and then planted my first 2 sunrise seeds. I don't remember much on how farming was in Portia, only that it wasn't really worth the effort, so I'm curious to see how it is in Sandrock. After that I headed back into town where the dance-off was about to start. I was excited about this, since this is our first town festival. Most of the events have unique minigames where you can win so-called festival badges. You can exchange them at the festival store for outfits and furniture pieces. After destroying the townies in the dance competition, I bought 2 new furniture pieces and also this very adorable headband. Now this is fashion. I placed the new pieces in my house and with that increased my health points just a little bit. Don't think I mentioned this before, but a lot of furniture pieces actually increase your attributes. Most of them are health points, but there's also some for attack, defense, luck, and even stamina. It's a pretty neat mechanic. On day 21, I headed straight to the research center where I had my first day as an assistant. Or more like as a cleaner, since that was my task. Hey, as long as I'm getting paid, I'm not complaining. Then B stopped by later and said that she needed help at the church. I couldn't really bother to help out at the church right now, and also, why does it always have to be me? You know, Mian is also a builder, right? And she lives right next door. So I told her to leave and continued to help out the director. I finished the report and with that completed my first day as an unofficial assistant. After that I did some commissions as per usual, and for the rest of the day I hung out at the festival stage, chatted with some people and earned a few more badges. I bought a table and a boombox from the store and headed back home. My house is looking a bit cramped now, but I'll fix it at some point. Not much happened on day 22. First half of the day was just me running around town, talking to everyone I came across, and then gathered wood and scrap that was laying around my house. I went once again to the director to get started on a diagram for a refiner. I can only get 1 diagram at a time, and it will always take a few days until it's researched, unless I use more data disks to speed up the process. But since I don't have a lot of these at the moment, I'd rather wait. Also, I'm not gonna mention every single machine in the game, since some of them I actually never use myself, so I hope that's cool with everyone. I waited until it was 6 PM because there was once again another fireside meeting. The short of it is, the lizard people did some damage to the canyon bridge, and now the structure is so unstable that the train cannot cross anymore, which means that we don't get any external water supplies. Yikes. The Civil Corps was tasked to come up with a plan to deal with the gigglers. Still not a huge fan of that name. Before going to bed, I upgraded one of my furnaces to a silver furnace, which unlocks a few more recipes and also has a bit more fuel capacity. Morning of day 23, I made another chest, put my machines to work, and then headed to the Civil Corps office. Mian and I were commissioned to build 1 tram cart each, but first we have to wait for the diagrams to arrive. That's pretty much how most main missions work. Go there, talk to this person, then wait for diagrams. Or wait for tomorrow. Most of my day was spent gathering materials and also doing some more progress down in the ruins. After I ran out of stamina, I relaxed at my favorite spot and took in the beautiful view across town. Next day I got a letter from Heidi with the diagrams for the tram cart. She told me that I needed to upgrade my work table for some of the recipes, but luckily I already did that a few days ago. I started to work on the tram right away, but I was missing some recipes, so I headed to the Commerce Guild store, and while I was strolling around, I noticed there was new decorations around town. Cactus type, jack-o'-lanterns? I'm intrigued. I made a few more storage chests since I was once again running short on inventory space. For now they're kinda just right next to my entrance of my yard. It's not very pretty, but I can focus on beauty building later. I almost forgot it was a Wednesday, so I headed to Fang's clinic to get my free dose of medicine. Never thought I would say anything like that, but here we are. After a trip into the ruins, I donated 1 more relic to the museum and with that received a free table as a reward. If I knew that, I wouldn't have bought one from the festival store. Oh well. Day 25, I made my way into town and I couldn't help but notice there's even more decorations now. Are we really about to celebrate Halloween in the middle of summer? Because I love that. After doing my commissions for the day, I stopped by the hair salon to meet Pablo. Now I can access the salon and change my hair and makeup. Didn't really feel like changing anything at the moment, but maybe I'll come back later. Finally, I had all of the materials to finish the tram cart. So I rushed back into town and installed it at the designated spot. Justice told me to be prepared in case anything goes wrong. It's recommended to be at least level 13. I'm level 21, so I felt pretty confident. But never mind that, out of nowhere the cable snapped and we fell into our doom. I don't know how anyone could possibly survive a fall like that. You know what? I'm not gonna question it. Justice and I made our way through Gecko Station. Another little detail that I just want to point out, in certain main missions or areas you cannot run out of stamina, and also the time is paused. There was a suspicious amount of pistol bullets laying around. Am I really about to get a gun? I sure am. We progressed through the area and I actually found a bronze greatsword in one of the treasure chests. It has pretty decent damage, but is also very slow, so I'm gonna stick with the daggers for now. There isn't really much to show about this section. We had to find 2 keycards, beat up some gigglers, until we came across a very suspicious open room. It's about time we have our first boss battle, and it's giving me a Silent Demon flashbacks. Justice was pretty much useless since he only had his gun out for whatever reason, but regardless, the fight was pretty easy.
You fight well, humans, but you are too late. Our plan is already complete. Behold, here! And now to take over Sandrock, and then the world!
Hey, wait!
Sandrock! Prepare to meet your new master!
After that endeavor, we headed to City Hall and reported everything to Matilda. Since I had a bit more money now, I expanded my yard again, rearranged my machines, and also upgraded my first recycler. I gathered any materials from around the scrapyard, and after draining my stamina, I headed in for an early night's sleep. Morning of day 26, I got a letter from Rocky, who informed me that a new type of scrap is laying around the sand and the scrapyard. To prepare for that, I upgraded my second recycler and then went to the Commerce Guild to check up on my progress. Excuse me, how is Yan still on top of the list? Dude never does anything.
My gains have been exceptional lately. Look at my pecs. No, I mean really look at them.
People date this guy? Not a huge fan of Penn, but I accepted his request regardless since, well, I'm a builder and that's kind of like what I do for a living. I headed to the research center to talk to G. I asked him what exactly that he's planning to make for the, and I quote, homunculus man, but he told me to just trust the science. Guess we'll have to wait and see what he cooks up for him. Back at the workshop, I made myself an iron pickhammer and an iron axe, then had a look around to see if I could find any of the new scrap Rocky was talking about, but I didn't have any luck with that. By the end of the day, I headed into town for another fireside meeting. Matilda briefly described that we need to rebuild the bridge as soon as possible so that we can get our water supply back on track. I donated half of my money towards the bridge repair, but I'm curious to know, if you donate everything until the maximum is reached, what kind of reward would you get? I had nowhere near that kind of money, so I left and went back home. The next day, Heidi stopped by and gave me the diagram to get started on the bridge repairs. I got a whole bunch of letters this morning, one from my friend Nia, the diagram from Chi, and a letter from my ma, and Unsure asked me to come see him at his house. Unsure is the second member of the Civil Corps, and yes, that's his actual name, and I love it. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire game, and for a good reason, but more on that later. I crafted the mirror for Superman, and I guess he's just gonna stand in front of my yard forever now. Have fun, dude. After that I went into town and marveled at the beautiful decorations and the banger music. Today was the Chase of Memories festival. I had a glimpse at the store and I love how there's different decorations for each of the festivals. Cowboy scarecrows, cacto-lantern, and what even is a cat on a cacto-lantern?
I'm taking the day off to paint my walls 3 days from now. Do you want to bring over the paint then so we can paint then? We're going to have a really good time. See you then. Don't forget the paint. That's the most important part of painting.
Couldn't agree more, buddy. I had all of the materials that I needed to make paint, but I was missing the diagram for the blender, so I hope Unsure doesn't mind waiting a bit longer. I donated a bit more money towards the bridge repairs and then waited until 4 for the opening ceremony.
Martel thought to organize a game not unlike hide and seek to finally take advantage of the freedom offered by the vastness of the above. She had people hang lanterns all across across the forest, around the oasis, to tell our ancestors, as well as people traveling the desert, that we're here and we're doing well.
Then it was time for the ghost hunt. Like Matilda mentioned earlier, it's similar to hide and seek, and it strongly reminds me of prop hunt. After a few rounds, I had another glimpse at the festival store and bought some shoes and a hat, which I immediately forgot about and never actually use. After midnight, we lit up some lanterns down by the train station, which was hella cozy. Over at my workshop, I had an even better view. Day 21, I had Burgess at my doorstep who told me that Penn was in trouble. I wonder why that might be the case. I also had a whole lot of side missions pop up on my minimap, so I headed straight into town to see what's going on. First up was the Blue Moon. Grace wanted me to make an insulated backpack to bring fresh food to smaller villages around Sandrock. Next was Justice, who commissioned a deputy cap for an upcoming ceremony. Am I gonna be a Civil Corps member soon? I mean, let's be real, Justice. I basically defeated the Giggler boss on my own, just saying. Then I went to check on Penn.
Yo-ho, Skinny! Fancy seeing you here in this city where we both live. How sick was that front flip?
Not gonna lie, it was a pretty sick flip. Penn wanted me to learn the so-called space punch, but I guess I couldn't really figure it out.
Oh no. That's not it at all.
Also, why is there a tornado in the background? Are we just gonna ignore that? Penn felt pretty down after realizing he failed to teach the space punch to me, but I told him that he doesn't have to worry about anything, I'm gonna keep it a secret. Still don't really like Penn, but this was kinda wholesome, and I appreciate the effort. But like, you don't have to follow me around now. Is this a bug or supposed to happen? Anyways, I made the backpack for Grace, went to the research center to get started on a diagram for the blender. But then I remembered that Burgess told me to go and check up on Penn in the morning, but he's right here. I guess I should have done that before. Surprise, he was trapped inside the mirror. RVO also had a request for me. He wanted me to make a billboard for his store. I spent a good portion of my day in the mines, and funny enough, Penn was still with me. I also started to work on the first frame of the bridge.
You appear energetic as usual. What of the homunculus man in this new mirror? He was stuck for days. Fascinating.
After this delightful conversation, I headed back home and I guess we're having a sleepover. Good night then. First day of fall, and thank God Penn finally left. I received a letter that my workshop took the second place last month. I would love to see how many commissions Yan did during summer since he's number 1, but I guess I'll never know. I headed over to Pablo's to pick up Arvio's billboard design, accepted another request for him who wanted me to craft 10 picture frames, had a chat with Grace who asked if I could do some ruin diving for her to recover any audio related relics, talked with Ernest who commissioned a writing desk and a chair, then crafted the billboard for Arvio and installed it down at the train station, and also the 10 picture frames. He said he needed so many because he's trying to market Sandrock as the so-called Desert Rose and sell landscape photography. Hey, whatever works for you, buddy. I gave Justice the deputy head that he commissioned earlier, and he told me that the ceremony will be held tomorrow. After a lot of socializing, I headed into the breach to look for the items for Grace. Sadly, I didn't find any, so I'll have to check again another time. First thing I did on day 30 was to finish the second truss for the bridge repair. I also got the diagram for the blender in my mail. Now I only need to wait for the paint, and then I can continue on Unsure's quest. I gave the finished trusses to Heidi and then headed to the town square for the promotion ceremony.
Now that everyone is here, let the official Silver Corps Deputy Promotion Ceremony begin. Now, I don't mean to tantalize you all. I'm sure you're on the tip of your toes wondering who I've chosen to be my deputy. So without further ado, let's give it up for our next deputy, Captain Cat.
I mean, Captain was definitely more of a help down at the Giggler place than you were, so I'm not complaining. Now he also has a little hat. That's so cute. After the ceremony, I went to Ernest and placed the desk and chair he commissioned yesterday. He invited me to a housewarming party tomorrow and told me to bring one dish. I don't know how it is a housewarming party considering he's only renting a single room, but okay. After gathering some ore from the mines, I collected the paint from the blender and brought it to Unsure. And guess what? We watched paint dry. Yep, I actually had to look up where to get the items for Grace. Turns out it's the first level of the Hazardous Ruins. I completed that level a while ago, so it wasn't too much of an issue to go through the section again. I dropped off the posters and the radio at the Blue Moon for Grace, and that wraps up the day. Next morning I checked my mail and got a letter from G, who wanted me to explore the Paradise Lost Ruins for a power core. He claims that this device should help Heidi with the bridge repairs, so I'll be checking that out as soon as possible. I also got another mysterious letter praising how I fought with the Gigglers, and instead of captain, I should have been the new deputy. I'm not gonna argue with that. From a guy who thinks that I'm cool. At this point I'm still absolutely clueless on who it might be, so I replied by saying that he doesn't have to be shy, and he can just, talk to me. As I made my way into town, I saw Arvio selling landscape photos to some tourists.
Perusing the views of Sandrock, does the beauty of the desert flower make you weak at the knees? Don't worry, take home a photograph, show your friends and relatives the wonders that is the desert rose.
Yeah, let me get a, one of those desert rose ones.
The strangest thing is happening. Everyone is just obsessed with this photo in particular. What could it be? I don't get it.
Arvio, what are you doing? What is the meaning of this? You're selling pictures of me?
Huh? No!
I do really like Arvio, but man, you could have figured that one out by yourself. Obviously, Amira was furious, so I helped her retrieve all of the photos from those creepy tourists, and Arvio promised to be more careful about his business ideas in the future. Later that day, I headed into town again to attempt Ernest's party, but I was the only one who showed up. But hey, at least I got free cake. After the banger party, I went to check out the Paradise Lost Ruins. There's not really too much to show about this. There were lots of enemies, some treasure chests, and I just have to mention again, I really appreciate that the time is paused on most main missions. With that, you can really take your time to explore without worrying that you might pass out. The boss fight was pretty straightforward. Destroy all 3 of the terminals around the arena, then damage the core on the back. Easy peasy, 0 deaths. I was eager to progress the main story, so I brought the power core to Director G right away. The next day I went back into town, but before going to the research center, I had a chat with Justice, who asked if any of my items had gone missing since last night. I wouldn't know, since basically all of my inventory chests are scattered around the yard without a lock on it, but probably no. Apparently Vivi, Arvio, and Pablo all had items stolen from them. I told Justice that I'd be happy to help out, but before tracking down any thieves, I went to the research center.
Designed a power suit running on the R47 Power Core Ultra. It will greatly enhance the speed at which we can rebuild the bridge. It's a design I came up with at Vega 5, but I never believed we'd actually find the energy output to put it into practice. My inspiration for it comes from something very obscure. Something you two never would have heard of.
Isn't this one of the robots from that old world entertainment show? What was it? Gungans?
Must be a bizarre coincidence.
Definitely a reference to Gundams. In any case, he gave me the diagram for the so-called Gum Gum suit. Once again, I had a whole bunch of quests piling up, so first I decided to tackle the thief problem around town. I had a chat with Vivi, Pablo, and Arvio, then investigated the spots where they saw each of the stolen items for the last time, that being Vivi's bedroom, Arvio's shop, and Pablo's desk. On each spot was a black feather left behind. No way. Mr. X, don't tell me it's you. I reported back to Justice and told him it's probably just a bird. He didn't believe me at first, but then told me to go and check on X anyways. So I rushed over to the clinic, where I had this adorable cutscene.
Come on, over here, here. Hi, birdie. Coco, Coco, Coco. Where are you going, sweetie pie?
Guess Coco isn't that easily impressed. He promised to return the stolen goods if I were able to help him befriend Coco. It's not really how that works, but okay. I went back to my workshop, finished the Gungam design, dropped off the robot for Heidi, and then she told me that the bridge will be ready within 2 days from now on. That's a relief, since the water prices have skyrocketed ever since the bridge collapsed. By the end of the day, I made my first cooking station. You can experiment with cooking yourself, or ask Maple and Owen for recipes. I did manage to come up with a few meals in my own, but I don't really have that many ingredients available at the moment, so I'll come back to that later. The next morning, Justice stopped by to let me know that X returned all of the stolen goods to their rightful owner. Arvio was also at my door and asked if I had time for a picnic with him and Amira. He said that we need a basket and, well, obviously some food. Since I'm a builder and not particularly good when it comes to cooking, neither in Sandrock nor in real life, I agreed to make the picnic basket. After that I checked my daily mail where I got a letter from Chi who told me to come to the research center ASAP. And also a letter from Fang who basically demanded me to build a swing for X. I don't remember promising anything like that, but I'll do it either way, buddy, because X deserves a cute swing. I crafted the picnic basket and bird swing, and after doing my commissions for the day, I stopped by the research center.
If you could build me an express tea maker that can extract octuple energy tea, all my woes would be solved. I've got the diagrams ready for you in advance. Thank you. When will it be ready? It is imperative that it is completed as soon as possible.
I am definitely a tea enjoyer myself, but this is the emergency you were talking about? The tea maker will have to wait for now since I was eager to install the swing for X.
Shiny! Shiny! Good birdie!
Coincidentally, it was a Friday as well, so I got my free dose of medicine. I headed to the ceramic gate where I met with Amira and Arvio. We had everything prepared for the picnic, but Amira said that she had a very important order that cannot wait. After a bit of back and forth, Amira agreed to let us help with her work. I never actually did pottery myself, but I heard it's very hard, so I'm impressed by how good these look. With the order completed, Arvio told me to meet them by the oasis tomorrow morning. Also, can we all just agree that Nemo is the cutest thing ever? Look at the little man chilling in the background. You silly looking guy. Later that day I had a chat with Miguel, who commissioned a new mural for the temple. He said I need to talk to either Pablo or Amira for the actual painting, so why are you talking to me? I haven't really spoken about Miguel, simply because I don't really have much to say about him. He's the pastor and kinda creeps me out. Funny enough, in the menu it says that you can actually romance this guy. I mean, to each their own, I guess. I asked Pablo if he would be up for the task to paint the mural for the church, but he said the church is not hip enough to display his art. Sure, buddy. So I asked Amira instead, and she agreed to the task. Back at my base, I had a glimpse over at the Express Tea Maker diagram, but this recipe will have to wait for quite a while since I need plastic and an upgraded assembly station. I had some money saved up at this point, so I decided to expand my yard once more and rearranged my machines. The next morning I woke up to another sandstorm, which means we probably have to wait with the picnic. I accidentally sold my normal sand hat, so I have to wear this ugly mask until I remember to get a new one, in case you're wondering why I'm wearing this horrendous thing on my head. I got a letter from Amira who already finished the mural for the church, and also I upgraded my workshop to a 3-star rating, which means from now on I can do 3-star commissions. As I was making my way to the Commerce Guild, I came across Vivi, who informed me about a new request board. It's basically the same as regular commissions, but the items on the request board are usually cooked dishes or crops. I already finished the frame for the church mural yesterday, so I dropped it off for Miguel and it looks stunning. Amira really is a great artist. Today was Arvio's birthday and I wanted to gift him this frog toy that I bought from the saloon. I read on the wiki that this is one of his loved items, but for some reason it wouldn't let me give it to him. So instead, I just gave him some food that I've been carrying in my bag for weeks now. Yeah, indeed, it's the thought that matters. I actually didn't do that much today. I was level 25 by now, so I felt confident enough to try the last level of the Hazarded Ruins. After that I collected some wood around the scrapyard, beat up some bomb ants and yak mills, and all of a sudden I had a boss bar appear on my screen. Excuse me, in range dive buzzard? What does that even mean? Yeah, I'm good. I'm out of here. Day 35, I headed over to the newly built Zonash bridge and installed the 2 trusses. With that mission finally being completed, I got a new top and now we're looking real cute. I had a very cozy picnic with Amira and Arvio, decided to change my hair color to a very basic brown that day. The purple didn't really suit me and this is much better. I went to the construction junction since Heidi told me the other day that there was new items available. I wanted to upgrade my assembly station, but I was missing a few materials. I also saw that you can change the fence design, so I swapped out the old version for a much nicer wooden one. For the rest of the day I collected scrap, wood and stone until I ran out of stamina and then relaxed by my favorite spot.
So there I was, outnumbered, 1,000,000-1. Whoa, did you just see that?
He's really close to the tracks.
Yeah, no kidding. We should probably...
Train's coming.
This is Mint. He's the inspector from Vega 5, here to take a look at our new bridge, and also a returning face from Portia. Justice asked if it was okay for me to accompany Mint on his way over to City Hall, and since I needed to go there anyways, it was no problem.
Speaking of inspection, Sleepyhead, did you bring your inspection equipment?
I didn't.
I knew it. Never change, Mint.
What do you mean you forgot your equipment? How are some of these people even employed? Back at my house, I checked my mail and I got a letter from a secret guy who thinks I'm cool but also kind of likes me. But if I don't like him back, that's okay, but maybe say hi if I do. What? Yeah, still completely clueless on who this is. Anyways, thanks for the seashell, I guess. After doing my daily commissions, I headed once again to the construction junction to finally build my very own stable. It's about time I get my first mount. I also changed the style of my house a little bit. Now it doesn't look that depressing anymore. I had a quick look at Copper's store over at the ranch, but decided to wait a little longer on buying anything. See, the mounts in the store reset every Monday, and there's 3 different types that you can buy. The Yakmel, which have the best endurance stats, but are also the slowest ones. Camels have balanced speed and endurance, and then horses, who are the fastest ones. This is one of the few things that I looked up on the wiki, since all of the mounts are very expensive, and I wanted to be informed as best as possible before buying something that pricey. I was still unsure on which type that I wanted, so I'll come back to that next week. Day 37, I got the diagram for the magneto-inductive device from Chi for Mint's bridge inspection. I put my machines to work and got another knowledge points in the workshop category. I'm mostly focusing the points into getting overall more XP, since I feel like that's the way to go in the early to mid game. I already had all the materials required for the magneto-inductor thingy, so I crafted it right away and brought it to Mint, who gave me this adorable froggy hat. Now I'm only missing the shoes and the pants for the whole set. I got a letter this morning from Rocky, who told me that the Eufaula Salvage Company is now offering contracts for ore and scrap shipments. At first I wasn't really too sure how these work, but from my understanding I pay a yearly fee for the shipments and I can upgrade the contract later on for more high quality goods. I thought it was a good idea to invest in this early on, since I don't always have time to run around and collect ore, so from now on I'll be getting daily deliveries from the scrapyard. Sweet. I sold some of my items to Arvios, relaxed down by the oasis, gave Coco a sandworm, and then did some exploring around the map. The next morning I collected my first ever scrap shipment from the delivery box, got a letter from Matilda who informed me that the bridge passed inspection and that there will be a ceremony tomorrow morning. I also got a new diagram for a forging machine from Chi. I was very excited for this because now I can craft my own weapons. I built the machine at the assembly station and then had a look at the recipes that were available to me. I couldn't afford to make anything new right now, so I headed into town where I saw Rocky, Elsie, Cooper, and Maple with a stray cat. Rocky mentioned that someone from his team found the cat near the scrapyard, but they decided to not keep him since apparently he has, and I quote, behavioral problems. Behavioral? Am I saying that correct? Despite Rocky's warning, Coop, Maple, and Elsie agreed to keep the cat anyways, and they named him Banjo. I stopped by the Blue Moon to give Owen some ingredients he requested a while ago. This is something that I do almost every week, but I'm obviously not going to mention every single side quest that I do, otherwise this video is gonna be 10 hours long. After that I visited the director and commissioned a silver grinder diagram. Did some ruin diving and then more exploring around the map. I found new foliage, rocks, and also a couple of new enemies. I was mainly trying to find plastic for the tea maker, but I didn't have any luck with that. Day 39 started with the ceremony for the newly constructed Canyon Bridge.
Now with that out of the way, I call upon our own Dr. T to cut this here ribbon and hereby declare this bridge reopened. Has anyone seen Dr. T?
Since the bridge was now finally open, I had access to the Sonash Cliff area. This was really exciting since this opened up a massive new area on the map. This means new types of mobs, rocks, wood and scrap, but most importantly, the Gecko Station abandoned ruins are now open for exploring. This is a new type of mining area with higher quality ores, resources and relics. I spent a few in-game hours in the ruins, then explored more on the Sonash Cliff, where I found my first parts of plastic scrap. Back at my house, I decided it would be a good idea to make a third furnace, since I'm getting more and more different types of materials, and now it's really starting to look like a proper workshop. I wanted to start on the recipe for the Express Tea Maker, but I completely forgot that I need to upgrade my assembly station first, so I'll have to remember that tomorrow. The next day, I woke up to another cutscene. Well, this is kinda awkward. I had no idea that Unsure was the one who was writing the letters to me. We should probably talk about this? Before doing that though, I checked my daily mail where I got a letter from Chi who wanted me to find parts for a telescope in the newly opened up ruins. And Amira commissioned 2 fragrance satchels for Heidi and Pablo. I was missing the recipe for that, so I headed over to the Commerce Guild, then had a chat with Mian, who asked if I was up for the task to repair this old windmill tower next to the scrapyard. This thing has been an eyesore ever since I came here, so I'm glad to give it a makeover. I visited Unsure at his house, and for whatever reason he really didn't want to admit that he was the one who wrote the letters. But like, dude, I saw you this morning in front of my house, putting the letter in my mailbox. What do you mean it wasn't you? He told me to make a criminal profile based on the stuff that I can find around his house. At first I thought this was kinda weird, but it turned out to be pretty wholesome. After searching around for a bit, I found another secret letter, and I told Unsure that I was cool with the idea of us being friends. I mean, I barely interacted with this guy before, but I take the free friendship points. You also get the option here to jump straight into a relationship with him, but if you couldn't tell, I'm still uncertain on who to date, so I wanted to keep my options open. I will admit though, I understand why people like Unsure so much. This guy is hilarious.
Have you ever noticed how many blades of grass there are? There's like so many. I tried to count them all, but started forgetting which ones I counted already.
I fixed up the old windmill tower with Mian, made the 2 fragrance satchels for Amira, who invited me to a tea party over at the Blue Moon tomorrow. I spent the rest of my day down in the Gecko Station ruins to see if I can find any of the telescope pieces for Chi, but I didn't have any luck with that. Today I headed over to the Yakmill Ranch where I had a chat with Elsie. She told me that her dad wants to get rid of Banjo already since he cannot stop marking his territory. Should have probably listened to Rocky the other day. Coop? She commissioned an animal house for Banjo and I told her that he can stay in my yard until I finish it. After that I went to the construction junction and finally upgraded my assembly station. Then had a very nice conversation with Mort, who asked if I can make him a new photo album for him since he lost his in the latest sandstorm. He told me whenever I find a photo of him I can come back to him and he will tell me a little story about the picture. On my way back to the workshop I ran into Arvio and Mr. X. He said he wants to get to know Dr. Fang better but doesn't know how to do that since Fang always dismisses his requests to hang out. Dude, take a hint. Arvio being Arvio, he came up with another very interesting idea. He wants to trick Fang into thinking that X got kidnapped. Then have me bring Fang over to the designated location and Arvio plays the fake villain that kidnapped X. Seriously? That's your master plan? His heart is definitely in the right place, but there has to be a better way to get Fang to open up more. I thought this was the right option to pick, since he would maybe come up with a different plan, but nope, I guess I agreed to the deal now. Best plan ever, I'm sure nothing is gonna go wrong. Anyways, I crafted the animal shelter for Banjo and installed it in front of the town hall. Elsie actually told me that I can adopt animals around town if I have enough relationship points with them. So you're telling me that I can have Coco and Nemo as a pet? Best day ever. I already crafted the Express Tea Maker earlier, so I went to the research center to give it to the director. I commissioned a new diagram from him, collected my daily scrap, made another civil recycler for my workshop, and then went back into town to attempt a tea party at the saloon. And this was really lovely. I had no idea that Pablo, Amira and Heidi were such good friends. They asked if I wanted to join the Fleeting Youth Tea Society, and as mentioned for about 40 times now, I love tea, so of course I accepted. Next morning I had Commissioner Yan outside my house. He told me that I was being promoted and my first task was to build a Yakmel station next to the Gecko ruins. Yakmel stations are fast travel locations around the map. Currently I only have a few available around town, but as we progress through the story I can construct more of these in new areas. It's basically the DD stops from Portia. I got a letter from Elsie who commissioned a saddle and one from the director who's sad to report that he can no longer use the Express Tea Maker because of his increased heart rate. All that work for nothing. I went to see Dr. Fang, who asked me if I saw X somewhere. No, I have, of course, not seen him. No idea what you're talking about. I brought him over to the spot that Arvio showed me yesterday.
As if someone could ever hope to control the great, Birdnapicus!
After fighting off the kidnapper, we freed X from the cage, and 2 seconds later, Arvio showed up again. Fang noticed that he had the same injury as Birdnapper, so doesn't look too good right now for your master plan. I felt really bad for him at the moment, so in the end I just told him the truth. He was understandably mad about it, and now I'm gonna have to live with that for the rest of my life. So let's just hope he's not angry forever. After that I headed over to City Hall, where I had a talk with Katori and Matilda. They need my help for a project they call Sand Running. This is supposed to help citizens of Sandrock to blow off steam and should also increase tourism in town. Katori gave me the diagram for the sign and the table, but before doing that, I crafted the Yakmel station. As I made my way over to Gecko Station, I noticed there was a sign on the Sonash bridge. You can see the people who donated the most amount of money for the bridge, and of course, Owen has the top spot. I installed the Yakmel station, which earned me the Froggy Explorer boots and a whole bunch of friendship points. Now my outfit is almost completed. I explored more around the canyon when I came across penguin dogs. Unfortunately, I had to do the unthinkable, for science of course. The real reason why I was walking around in the desert was because I had a new marker on my map ever since this morning, and I was intrigued. I headed over to the designated spot where I found Bogan Jack, a talking kangaroo. Now, this sounds oddly familiar. No matter what I said to him, he seemed very offended by my fighting words. That's just not a thing, but okay buddy. He was no match for me though, so I beat his ass, and after a very short duel, he told me to seek him out again in the future, and if I manage to defeat him 2 more times, he'll give me a sick reward. I'll be the judge of that. On day 43, Heidi and Chi were discussing the repairs of the Gangam suit, and since I constructed the whole thing by myself, I offered to help them. I already had all of the materials, so I went over to the research center and repaired the suit. After doing that, I stopped at a ceramic shop where Arvio was trying to convince the mysterious man into having him sell some of Amira's work in different cities. Long story short, Amira needs a more advanced kiln in order to provide better quality items, and he offered to get the diagrams for her, but for a very hefty price. I had a bit of money saved up, so I told them that I could lend them 2,000 out of the 5,000 golds that they needed. Amira didn't want it to accept at first, but we're pretty close friends by now, and Arvio mentioned that apparently Owen has a crush on her, so lending money from him could get awkward. So in the end, they accepted my loan and told me I'll get the money back in the near future. I checked up on Fang in the clinic and I apologized for yesterday's fiasco. He said it's already in the past, and from now on I can gift him items if I wanted to. Back at my house, I made myself an advanced sandfish trap and tested it out. It's definitely an improvement from the regular trap, but still not a huge fan of it. The next morning, Elsie greeted me at my door and asked if I wanted to go riding with her. She showed me one of her favorite spots, and speaking of riding, I think I need to get myself a horse. It's so much faster than the camel I had a few weeks ago. I checked the mount store over at the ranch, but sadly they didn't have any horses available, so I'll have to check again another time. I ran into town to do my daily commissions when I came across Mr. X and Arvio. Arvio wants to make Fang's favorite dish, which is mapo tofu, but he didn't have all of the ingredients he needed, so I offered him my help. This guy really doesn't give up, does he? For that I had to talk with the mysterious man. He told me that I needed spicy bean paste for the recipe, but I need to craft those on my own. So I bought some of the bean seeds from him and planted them in my yard. I already made the sand running table yesterday, so I headed over to the Sonash Canyon and installed it next to Gecko Station. Katori thanked me for my hard work and let me know there will be an official opening ceremony in a few days. As a reward, I got the final piece for the Froggy Explorer set. The pants, however, looked kinda weird, so I just kept on the regular jeans. I spent a good portion of my day in the Gecko Station ruins to try and find the telescope parts for the director. I dug up a whole bunch of different relics, but not a single piece for the telescope. Maybe next time. On day 45, I finally had all of the materials that I needed in order to craft myself a pair of iron daggers. This was a pretty significant damage boost compared to the copper daggers I've been using. As I was diving into deeper levels of the ruins, I had more luck with the telescope pieces. I actually managed to find the entire set. I wanted to reconstruct it at the museum, but I didn't realize how late it already was, and the museum is only open until 8, so nothing else to do but to go back home.
Come back here, you dirty varmint!
Well, that was kinda awkward. Also, I'm very sorry about the blurry looking cutscenes. I'm pretty sure that's an issue with OBS, so unfortunately we'll have to live with that for now. Justice, Unsure, and Penn tried to run after Logan, and in the meantime, Matilda commissioned a new water tower for Mian and me. So I went out looking for Mian to get started on the project, but I overheard her having a conversation with Elsie, and I'm just gonna show you what they were talking about.
Alright, what can I help you with? See, I don't think he did this without reason. I want to take a look at his house, which is right here, and do some hands-on investigating. For the truth.
Okay, so I'm gonna fill you into the lore as best as I can. As I mentioned earlier, Logan and Haru used to live in Sandrock a while ago. They both grew up here and everyone knows them. Some time ago, Logan and Haru blew up the temple in town, and ever since then they're known as bandits and have a bounty on them. The end. Elsie mentioned that she doesn't believe that Logan is the bad guy here. They grew up together, so she obviously knows him very well, and I'm totally with her. In the cutscene from earlier, we don't actually see him do anything, we just see him flee the scene. That doesn't mean that Logan is innocent, but also doesn't mean that it was his fault. Also remember the train hijack from way back when? Nothing happened there either. None of the passengers were hurt, and nothing was stolen. Yeah, I'm something of a detective myself. Elsie wants to find out more about Logan's past and asked Mian and me for help. So the logical next step was to break into his house. We looked through every single room to see if we could find anything of interest. Haru apparently has a thing for bombs and face creams. There was a drawing made by Jasmine on the wall, which was actually kinda cute. Other than a few family pictures, we didn't really find all that much. After this amateur detective work, I reconstructed the telescope over at the museum, and I wanted to install it on top of the research center right away, but the game told me to come back later when it's dark. Since it was a sandstorm, I decided to try my luck with this mini-boss next to the scrapyard. I had better weapons now and was also higher level, so it wasn't too much of a trouble. Which is actually a lie. This chicken took like a third of my health, but regardless, I won the battle and I got pretty decent loot from that. After 8 PM, I finally installed the telescope for Chi. Safe to say he was more than happy about it. Next morning, I had once again Elsie on my front door and a whole bunch of other people. Elsie said I should go and ask around town how the relationship between the people here, Logan and Haru was back when they lived here. First person I talked to was Arvio. He mentioned that Haru and him were very good friends and the creams and lotions were all made by Haru. Then went to the saloon to show Owen this wedding picture of Logan's parents we found yesterday. The little kid in the background is supposedly Owen. He didn't remember anything about the picture, but one thing that was interesting was he told me that Howlett, which was Logan's dad, apparently had a disease that couldn't be cured and he had to be quarantined in the temple. So Logan and Haru attempted to free him, but in the process they blew up the temple instead and his paw died during the blast. That went from 0 to 100 real fast. I also wanted to talk with Fang about this whole ordeal, since he's the only doctor in town, and he was the one who diagnosed Howlett, but he wasn't much of a help. In fact, he didn't say a word. Matilda basically said the same as Owen, however she did mention that Howlett went into an abandoned ruin which was closed off by the Civil Corps, and that's where he supposedly got contaminated with the disease. Pain was suspiciously awkward when I asked what he was doing the night when the temple exploded, so I'll keep that in mind. From what I gathered by talking to a lot of different people, Haru and Logan were liked by pretty much everyone in town until Howlett got sick one day. Everyone seems to think that all of this is just a big misunderstanding, but I feel like there's still something missing. If the bombing of the temple was just an accident, why did they both leave town? For now, I went to the sand running track because today was the opening ceremony. Sadly, the only people that showed up was Katori, Burgess, and myself. With the recent events of the water tower blowing up, I guess people didn't really bother, or maybe forgot about the ceremony. Burgess was sad to see that no one showed up, but since I helped build the plaza, he gave me a week-long pass for the sand running track, which I immediately forgot about. I headed into town where I had a quick talk with the director, who asked if I wanted to join him tomorrow night to observe a satellite that will be passing by. I've come to really like Director G with his goofy looking tie, so I told him I'll be there. I did my daily commissions and also started to work on the components for the new water tower. I was able to craft a water tank and the tower frames right away, but I had to wait for some of the materials in order to finish the filter. While I was collecting a bit of scrap, I reached level 30 and I found my first lost picture for Mort. On day 48, guess who was at my front door? Yep, Elsie. She gifted me with a baby Yakmel for helping her investigate at Logan's house and then briefly explained how to raise animals. Basically, there's 3 different types. Yakmels, which need a barn, rabbits live in a hutch, and chickens need a coop. I do not have the materials nor the space for any of these buildings at the moment, so I thanked her and shoved the baby Yakmel into one of my storage boxes where it will probably stay for the rest of the playthrough. I already had all of the components for the new water tower, so I went into town and put it together with Mian. With that, the water prices should be back to normal again. And I also got some free friendship points with basically everyone in town. I gave Mian a birthday present, found another picture for Mort, and then collected wood around my house. By the end of the day, I met up with the director to look at the satellite that was passing by. The following morning, Mayor Trudy introduced herself. I asked if she needed anything from me, and she actually said that Matilda stole her desk and chair. Kinda rude. So I told her it's no problem at all to make a new one for her. I checked my daily mail and got a letter from Nia, who was really worried about me because of the recent attack on the water tower. In fact, she was so stressed out that she decided to come visit me in the next couple of days. I had a whole bunch of presents scattered in front of my house because today was my birthday. I even got one from Mr. X. Thank you very much. I ran around town doing the usual commissions, gave Trudy the new desk and chair, then I remembered I had a weekly pass for the sand running plaza, so I headed over to the canyon and went sand running for the first time. I feel like this would probably be really fun if you played in a co-op session, but alone it's kinda meh. Day 50 is here and Nia arrived in the morning with the train. We headed over to the saloon to catch up on everything and of course to eat some food. Nia is our childhood friend, we are both from a place called Highwind and she's currently studying botany. She'll be staying in Sandrock for 3 days and asked me if I can show her around the moisture farm tomorrow. For now I headed back to the workshop, checked my mail and got a letter from Amira who gave me a diagram for an electric kiln. This is tied to the quest I started a while ago when I landed Arview and Amira the 2000 goals so that they can afford a better kiln. I crafted said kiln at the assembly station and then checked out the mount store over at the ranch to see if they had anything new. Finally, they had horses available. I decided to go with the white one and at last I have my own mount. I bought new recipes from the Yakmel ranch, gave Nemo some jerky, and then installed the electric kiln over at Amira's ceramic store. We both crafted 1 ceramic bottle each, and also, how am I so good at this? I only worked with clay once, I thought that was enough practice. Either way, she thanked me for spending time with her, and she'll send me some of the ceramic pieces that I've made once it's done drying. After that I rode over to Gecko Station and I was amazed by how fast the horse is. This was definitely worth waiting for. I spent a few in-game hours down in the mines until I ran out of stamina. Then I headed back into town to get a new diagram for an advanced work table. Last thing I did today was to rename my horse, and that is of course Roach. And there you have it, 50 days of my time at Sandrock. I wanted to try out something different and bring more variety to the channel instead of always playing Stardew all the time. So if you want to see more of Sandrock and how the story unfolds, because believe me, we are just getting started, then please leave a like, it helps out so much, especially for smaller channels like mine. As always, if you have any other game suggestions, then feel free to leave a comment down below, I read every single one. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.